Hello and welcome to the Little Artist YouTube channel. My name is Mr. Steve and today we're going to be doing a value scale using graphite. So it's just a simple exercise for the kids to really practice learning to adjust the pencil pressure for them to create nice drawings and create contrast in their drawings to get very nice, clean, crisp edges. Enjoy the video. Alright, and here we go. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a HB pencil. It's just your standard number 2. And if you have it, a 2B pencil is very, very nice for getting those darker values. Not necessary in order to do the value scale. So if you don't have this, it's totally fine. I tell my students that the more times you do the value scale, the better at it you're going to get and the better your drawings are going to look. So this is something you can encourage them to do every once in a while and multiple times if at all possible. Have them start out with just a very simple rectangle shape. Okay, so we take and we're just going to put in a rectangle like so. Alright, now on this particular exercise I'm going to actually create a second one so that we can get more values in this scale here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do 0 through 10. So we're going to start out with our rectangle and split it down the middle like that. Okay? What that's going to do is that's going to give us 4 squares. We're going to end up with several more. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the middle of the right side. We're going to find the middle. We're going to slide over just a little bit and draw another vertical line coming through here. Do not worry too much about these being perfect. Come back to the middle, slide over just a little bit to the right, and we're going to do another vertical line here. Okay, again, these are it's okay if these are not perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and come over to the middle of the left side, slide over here, go ahead and put a vertical line coming down. Same thing here. We're going to start here in the middle, slide over just a little bit, and then it's going to be in the middle of what the remainder is here. Okay. Now what we normally would do is we'd put 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to go ahead and put a 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then what we'll do so that we can contrast our 10 against our 0 is we'll put another 0 here to see exactly what the contrast is going to look like. So we're going to go from 0 all the way up to a 10 value. Okay? Now, first thing I talk to my students about when we're doing this is pencil pressure. So when you're holding your pencil, if you're drawing really lightly, you want no pressure almost at all. Okay? So 0 box here is already done. When we're doing our 1 pressure, we really almost want the pencil to be missing the paper. Okay, so I'm actually blocking this in here very, very gently, as light as I possibly can. Okay, almost looks like the paper is just slightly dirty, has a little bit of a smudge on it, and that's going to be our 1 value. Now, if you happen to get it too dark, with any of these, if you take your finger and you rub it in a little bit, you're going to see that it'll smooth it out and it will lighten it up because a little bit of that graphite will stick to your finger. So it'll actually be on your finger there. For our 2 value, what I like to have the kids do, or our students do, is to try to match the 1 value first. Okay, it's really, really great for them to learn, or for you if you're a student following along. It's good to learn how to match the value first. So you can see I have those 2 very, very similar. I'll do the same thing here. And then what I can do is do another application of the same pressure over the top. And by doing that, I'm going to add more graphite with really, really light pressure and try to make it so that when I look at that, you can see a small increase in value. Okay, and value is how light or how dark it is. Of course, there's multiple meanings to value, but in this sense, we are using it as how light or how dark it is. You can see we have a slight gradation beginning where we start with 0, we go to 1, 2, and then from 2 to 3, I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm not going to put 1 3 times. I'm going to try to match my 2 as best I can. So I'm not really pushing still. I'm just kind of rolling over the paper with the pencil very, very gently. Over and over, probably with the 1 pressure, but I'm just staying on the paper longer in order to get this value, okay? So now that I have that matched to my 2 value, I'm going to go over it one last time and see if I can't get it just slightly darker than the number 2 value. And again, if you happen to get it too dark, you can take your finger and just give it a little tap and it'll soften it up. And the other way to tell if it's darker is if you look at your color and you look at these 2 colors and you squint your eyes at it, you should be able to see a difference between all 3 of those colors if you squint your eyes. By squinting your eyes, it helps you to see the value better. By reducing the light that's coming into your eyes, you can kind of see the contrast between them a little better. So now I'm going on to 4. I'm going to try and match my 4 to my 3. Still using very, very light pressure here, but again, repetition and covering over and over and over the surface with light pressure until I can get it to match. So it looks like those are the same. And once again, 1 more coat on top of that to make my 4 just slightly darker. And then we'll give it the old squint test. Take a look, make sure we can see the difference, and it looks like we're pretty good there. I'm going to soften that just a tiny bit with my finger, like so. Looks like we're doing okay. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and move on, try and get our 4 value blocked into our 5 value square. Now I'm actually starting to push a little bit. And by the way, you can do these up to 20 or up to 100. When I was taking art classes in college, we would go up to about 50, I believe. So it was probably one of the biggest, longest value scales I did. Okay, trying to match those 2. You can see this one's a little darker. So I'm going to soften it so it matches my 4 nicely. And I'll come back over it with just a little bit more pencil, and you'll notice that I'm still using that nice number 2 pencil. Okay, and occasionally you'll get little dark spots. You can see I have a little dark spot here in the corner. If I take and I set my eraser on that and pull gently without pressing down on my eraser, I can lift just a tiny bit of that pencil off to soften that up. Okay, give that the squint test, make sure we're slightly darker. And if you think of these, if you know percentages, if you think of these as percentages, you're at about 50% here. So we want to make sure that we're starting to get a little bit of value on there. Okay? Another way you can do this too, if you'd like, is you can go from 5 here to 6 here and work your way back. I'm going to actually go ahead and come back this way with my number 6 value here. So I'm going to try to match my 5 value. The nice thing about doing it here is that you can actually see the difference. So I'm just going to do my best with it separated to create a 6 value here. It's definitely okay to go multiple directions, but just make sure if you do, you're not crossing over too much and creating other values inside. Okay, so I'm going to try and get that to about my 5 value. Okay, it's looking a little bit more like a 4 to me now, so I'm coming over it one more time. That's really, really close to my 5 value there. Okay, it's still, this, I would even call this maybe a 4.5 value. So I'm going to take and start putting a little pressure on this. See if I can get that to kick a little bit darker than my 5 value. And again, you could do this up to like 100, so you'd still be really light on your 6 value if it's on a scale of 1 to 100. Okay, so we're looking pretty good there. Squint your eyes, you can see number 6 is slightly darker than number 5. So we're going to move on to number 7. So now I'm going to try and come in here. I'm going to see, this is where the practice of this is really good. I'm going to see if I can match this by just matching the pressure of number 6 the first time through. Okay, I'm not too worried about the neatness on this, so don't worry too much about your edges. We're really just trying to get the feel of the pressure of the pencil to try and get these things so they gradate correctly. And gradation, again, is where you have something that starts light and goes dark, or something that starts dark and goes to light. Okay, try and match those two up. You can see my 7 is a little darker where my pencil line is here, but otherwise you squint your eyes, those are very similar. So I'm going to start putting a little pressure on here, kind of start to get this thing going. We want to make sure we see a difference here, so I'm going to put a little pressure on that and work my way across the page here. Okay, we're doing pretty well here. So now we're going to go on to our 8 value. Same strategy. We're going to try and match our 7 here. So now I'm actually pushing down pretty decent. Not pushing hard, but I'm pushing firm. Try and match that 7 value into my number 8 square. It looks like one big square rectangle there, and then I'm going to start coming in with a little more pressure on my 8. Try and pop that out a little bit away from the 7. Okay, I'm not pushing as hard as I can. I'm going to save that for 9 and for 10. Okay, and there we go. Alright, so we're going to move on here. In order to match this, I got to put some pretty good pressure here. 90% value is going to have a little strength to your pressure. Okay, and again, I'm trying to match the 8, so this would be 80%. Okay, we're pretty close there. You can see I have one little dark spot here and here. So as I shade this in to make it a little darker than my 8, I'm really going to start to push down here, especially since my 100% or my 10 value is going to be very dark. There you have it. Alright, and now for our number 10 value, we go ahead and take our 9, good pressure all the way through. I would relayer back over it to make sure we get that layer on there nicely. Do a little squint test, make sure we're good. And then I'm going to come back over that with pretty much full pressure. You're going to push very hard on the pencil, hard enough to where it's going to be really dark, but that you do not break your pencil. We're going to get that nice and solid there. right, and that is our value scale. All right, and remember, as far as the pencils go, an HB is suffice, and if you need it, you can use a 2B. One other thing I like to show my students too is I'll take a HB and I'll take it and I will use it with medium pressure. So let's say I'm using the pressure of about a 5 or a 6 there, probably closer to a 6, and I use that same pressure with the 2B. You can see the difference. The lead is softer, or the graphite is softer, so it just presents a little tiny bit darker. You can see it's probably closer to 7 or 7.5. My camera's picking up a little bit of a glare there. About a 7 or a 7.5 value. There we go. If I slide it up here, you can see it a little better. Maybe even an 8 value there. Okay, that's what this is. This is a softer pencil. Soft. This is a medium pencil, and you may see something called like a 2H or a 4H or a 6H. So let's say we had a 2H. That's a hard pencil, and a hard pencil is going to make lighter lines. Okay, so the softer the pencil, the farther the number goes this way. So we have as much as an 8B. You're going to have something that's really soft. So when you push down even lightly, you're going to get almost like a 9 or a 10 value with like an 8B. Okay? So that gives you an idea of how the shading works. If you have any kind of a graphite pencil set, that's how that works. And what I'm going to do here in the last step here, so I have a 0, and then here we have our contrast. One thing you can do, you know, if you create a whole bunch of more boxes, is you can try to work on that gradation within a box as well. So if you take and you start over here on the edge with a 10, I'm going to do the same little value scale all inside one little square. So I'm going from a 10 to a 9 to an 8 to a 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I have my 0 right there at the end. Okay, really, really good practice to get these little gradation squares as well. And there's my contrast with my 0 against my nice 10 value there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.